Welcome in, everybody. Happy to see you on INIT Talks today. Hope you're doing well. We have in today Victoria Thomson with us. She's a sim racer. She won Screen to Speed at the ADAC SimRacing Expo. So welcome, Victoria.
Hello. Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking your time and have this wonderful stream with us. So let's start with how do you get into sim racing? How you started?
Well, for me, I would say I started with Assetto Corsa 1, kind of. I mean, what actually is sim racing? When I would say I started more playing video games on computer, then maybe it was Gran Turismo 4, I think, on the PlayStation a few years ago, actually. But I would say really into sim racing AC1 when I at least got more professional sim racing wheel, and I really started sim racing basically with ACC like in 2019, 2020, something around that. Joined the community, and well, from that time on, ACC, at least for me, I know there's differences between ACC iRacing and other simulators, but on ACC I felt like home on the very first day, and for like 4 years ago, my sim racing career kind of started.
That's great. I remember that I also kind of started from Assetto Corsa, the first one. But before that, I also did some, racing games. Also Race 07. That's the old Air Factor 1. So I prepare for some racing events on this one. You mentioned that you get your first wheel. Can you tell more about it? What was it?
Yeah, I think my first more professional wheel basically was a complete Fanatec set. It was the Club Sport wheelbase V2.5 with the bigger BMW rim, and I think the V2 or V3 pedals. And basically it's never really changed in that last 10 years. I think I got it like 2012 to 15, somewhere around there. And before that, I mean, everyone had like that Logitech one, so on AC1 I raced with, I think I ruined 2 G25 wheels and a G27, and after the G27 I moved to the Fanatec rims, and I think 2020, 21, something around there, I moved to the podium set from Fanatec, and that's basically my set right now. So I'm still with Fanatec.
That's great. How do you feel to switch from like entry-level equipment to the high-end equipment? How was it for you?
Good questions. A lot think with high equipment, more pace or something is coming. I would say even on a G25 or with 27 or something, you can be very quick with entry-level sim racing gear. Personally, I would say with, for example, now a DD2 or the bigger direct drive wheels, I just got more consistency into the races. So I was able to just pull out every lap the same lap times or nearly the same lap times. And with that consistency, I think even more speed was coming. But I wouldn't say that I'm much faster or that I was faster with an entry-level wheel, or that I'm faster right now with a higher equipped wheel. So I would say I love my wheel. It really gives, I love the strength. So right now I'm at 12 to 15 Newton meters, something around there. And the races, which is physically kind of hard to race more than like 4 hours. A few weeks ago, I did 4 hours race on the Nordschleife in a row, so without the breaks. And I would say after 4 hours with 12 to 15 Newton meters, it's kind of heavy, but it's also that typical thing like it's not a real workout, but you just love to have more than the typical 2.5 to 5 Newton meters. But still, it's not making me fast. It's just more the immersive stuff. That's what's the kind of worth for me, the price.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing that you noticed that you didn't feel that you're like a lot faster. You more consistent with the higher end equipment, but definitely. It's really good to start from something. We're talking on INIT Talks a lot about this. That everybody should have opportunity to jump into to sim racing, yeah, and with whatever equipment they got. And I think it's a really important thing. What are you doing with? So what's your routine for the practice when you preparing for events, for big events in sim racing?
Mm-hmm. Depends on what kind of races. Usually depends on the race that I'm racing and the duration. I'm double to 3 times the time the race time is. I put into practice. So if we're racing a 24-hour race, I'll have somewhere around 48 hours plus on practice before the actual race. And I'm trying to have a setup that's feeling comfortable. I know that sometimes you just can min-max the settings or something, that you have like some tweaks that makes you extremely fast. But for me personally, it's a lot more important to have a car that just feels comfortable, that every lap I know, even if I'm not on the like mental top state right now in a lap, if you're racing for an hour or two, maybe double stinting, and you're doing a small mistake, I need a setup that knows that I can excuse that, for example, that's not completely on the edge. And from that point on, I'm trying to get up my consistency. So I'm trying to have practice evenings. I'm trying to redo all the practice conditions if we know them before. Otherwise, I'm trying to do some races. And even there, if I know it's an endurance race, I'm more practicing on my own, because I'm trying to get just in my routine and in my flow. And if I know it's sprint races, then I'm trying to do a lot like public lobbies to avoid the mock-ups in the beginning, the chaos, because in sprint races, if you spin out in T1, then you don't have the time to gain the time again during the race. So it depends on what I'm racing, if I'm doing more like casual lobbies, or if I'm practicing for my own, or for example with teammates, to have a little bit dirty air. Also multi-class racing, also different, because then the pace difference in the cars is what we are trying to simulate. So a friend is joining a slower car, depending on the corner. We're trying to practice that. But I would say basically it's just like having fun. That's the most important thing. And even in the practice times, I'm pretty sure if some of my teammates will see that maybe afterwards, they know that I can get emotional while training, but it's like letting all emotions out before the actual race. And in the race, I know it's also, sometimes we have emotions. That's completely normal for racers. But I'm trying to just push me every race before the actual race is starting to more than 100%, to have like my 100% performance in the race. That's basically kind of the practice I'm doing before, and also to get a mental state on.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I also trying to stay cold-blooded when I'm doing races, like official races or big events. Of course, everybody can be emotional, as you said. I think it's absolutely okay. What do you like the most in endurance races? Because you mentioned that you're doing endurance races and sprint races as well. So would like to know what you prefer in endurance races. What's the best about them?
Yeah. Well, as you said, I'm personally, I prefer endurance races because it's not about always being the quickest person. It's about being the consistent person over a very long time, being one with the car for more than just 30 minutes. And I mean, I also do sprint races. They are also a great competition, even a higher competition than endurance races. But I mean, even if it's sim racing and the car is not really breaking down, sometimes you have like technical issues, everything that's bringing sim racing with you. But for me, it's driving hours for hours, the same pace, or nearly on being focused for over a long time. That's something I personally love. Also with having the time with friends, for example, doing the spotting for guys, doing the setup work, doing the strategy, even the complete thing about strategy in endurance races is something that I completely could go into detail because I really love doing the strategy. And for the rest, it's just keeping your focus for such a long time on a state where you say after that, you seem like, or you feel how you're getting exhausted without getting to know that you're exhausted after a few hours. And for example, I personally love the night stints in real time between 2 and 5 a.m. when the happy time is going to start. Like everyone's tired now. Usually you're sometimes alone on the rig. We at least try to be two with one backup in the rig or in the race. But you're basically alone driving through the night. Everyone's starting to do mistakes because you're zooming out because you're doing the same thing like for 14 to 16 hours. But still, I don't know, that to keep the maximum performance, to like every time you're tired as fuck, whatever, it's still staying focused. And that's what is endurance racing for me.
Yeah, endurance
That's the
is
thrill.
Really special, and I think the endurance racing also bring a lot of people into sim racing because many people, like, they're not doing any official races or leagues, they just jumping into special events like in Assetto Corsa Competizione and in iRacing, for example, as well. So what was your highlight endurance event for you? What was the best result, the best race which you remember?
Well, the best race, it wasn't the best race that I remember, but I really remember one race that kept in my mind for still for today. It was, I think, 2 to 3 years ago, when sim racing was just coming up in Corona and all that stuff. I did a race with a few friends, with Chris, Samir, and Jadia. And it was my first time with Jadi in a car, and we had I think 2,500 live viewers right now, and I was a little bit nervous. And the first thing I did was I got out of the box, tires were cold, and I just smashed the car into after Radion in Spa,
Wow.
into the wall in front of 2,500 people that were, well, for me, it was a moment that, I mean, you need to get back in the car. And I even had 2 hours of stints in front of me. But I know I crashed the car, I messed up P1, a few people were watching, and to get up there, the like emotional stability, that was something that I remember until today, because you still need to get back into the car. You need to be, we can't just stop. We repaired the car, and after that, I just needed to drive again because it was the only person who was driving right now. And knowing that you have a lot of people watching you, knowing that you messed up the P1 for the team, I think in the end we made P2. I think it was a 24-hour race in maybe Simgrid. I'm not sure which race it was, but the 24-hour race in Spa. And I mean, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, still a great experience. And I would say that race, to keep up there the mentality and still get back in the car, to trust the car in every Eau Rouge and Radion when you're entering that, and you know you just smashed it once, make it simple. And as we all know, if you lift the car there, shouldn't be the best way. And if you get scared for something, even if it's sim racing, then you're getting slow. And well, as I said again, the endurance races, that type of racing, the type of mentality that you need there, that's what really brought me forward and which still is in my mind.
So endurance is like push you to go, because you got a team next to you, and you also, like, even if you crash, you really want to finish the race because you plan everything. Other people plan this race to do it with you. So yeah, I fully understand you in this. So speaking about sprint events, and I know that you recently won the Screen to Speed at the ADAC SimRacing Expo. Can you tell me more about this event? How was it for you? How that was to be a part of the big SimRacing Expo and of this event as well? And how was it for you to take a part in sprint event?
Absolutely. We were talking about endurance races, and now we're switching to the sprint races. I'm completely not common to sprint races, but it was more than just an honor to race into that race. And even to win that, I never thought about it. And still until now, if I would tell myself, you're going to race it again, I would say I'm pretty sure I won't win that again, because iRacing is not my main simulation. I have like two ranked races in iRacing. I have an account, but it never felt like the simulation that I want to race, because I have no content. I had no licenses and stuff. And when I got asked if I want to race there, I was like, okay, I need to practice. I need to download the iRacing. I need to download everything around it. And then I started to practice, as I said, for the sprint stuff. So I tried to do some open lobby races. I tried some practice runs, and getting there is, I don't know, everything was kind of overwhelming. So far I haven't done any races live on a stage, or at least on site somewhere, and the complete situation was new. It was, as I said, overwhelming, but it was more than just a great experience, because I know that from all the experience that I've made in the last years over the time in sim racing, I could use it, because in the sim rig itself, I was in my own zone. I could cancel out everything that was around and just focus on the car, on the girls next to me, even knowing they were actually really sitting next to me. And you could look over to them like, what are their feelings right now? How are they feeling? How are they driving? How will the race end, for example, in the next minutes? But still right now, going through that race, it's because I never thought with the circumstances that I had. On-site race, iRacing, completely new to me. Formal cars, I've never done a formal car race. I think even in the first race, it's maybe some noticed it. When it got into the grid, I realized that I've never practiced a standing start with the Formula 4 with a clutch, and we didn't have the clutch pedals on the steering wheel, so with like the real clutch on the foot. And I was just standing there like, okay, how to do that? I know what I should do with my double clutches at home, but when I came there, it's like, okay, shall we just smash it? Then I had wheel spin as hell, and I saw the other girls just coming up, because I'm pretty sure they've done in their practice sessions at least some race starts. And I took the second race, or the practice for the second race, also to practice some race starts. But that was like, I've never thought about practicing the start actually from the starting grid or the standing start in a Formula 4, because it's not my sim or not my cars. And I know there's I think a safety car in iRacing where you have the rolling starts. If they would have done that, I had no idea what to do. That would be some very, let's say, some interesting start. But good thing everything worked out. In the end, I won by points. The first race I won, the second race I think I made third. Still awesome races. I've never thought that it got so close on the first 3 to 4 people, because I never saw myself somewhere in the front, and I really got it. Those were really great races. We had very close fights. We had a little contacts, maybe due to I was not used to the mirrors and the completely iRacing views. I had my spotter turned off because I'm new to iRacing. I'm sorry, but still it worked out, and I had fun, and right now let's see what the future brings, and maybe it opens some doors for some other races. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, once again, congrats with P1 in this event, as that was really huge, the biggest event in sim racing which we got. I know that you're going to get the testing at Nordschleife as your prize. And can you tell me, are you excited about this? Maybe you thinking how it's going to happen? And did you have any in real life experience in racing?
To be honest, I can't wait to race that race car. I'm not having any information, or most of the information is still pending. So we are in the discussions when it will happen, because right now going to the Nordschleife is like, I'm pretty sure it could be a little bit dangerous. Even in a normal street car, maybe. I don't know what's going to be there, but I'm happy about it. I can't wait for it. And for the real racing experience, so far I've raced in an AMG, the Scirocco Cup R, and a few Audi R8 V10s with street tires and slicks, but not built up there. It's the highest thing I've driven was the AMG GT4. So I have some experiences, but as everything was on a private racetrack or airfield, I wouldn't say that I'm really experienced in high competition cars or in real car racing, but I'm doing kart racing. Also did there a real life 24-hour race with a team, and experienced at least some kind of 24-hour endurance races. Also did the sprint races. In the last company I've worked at, we had a karting competition over the completely year, where I basically also won against 51 other guys, and still was able to get the crown. But we had also like that all kind of racing rules with 85 kilos as ballast of performance. So if you're lighter, and a few of us were lighter, you're getting ballast into the cart, that we are leveled out with that. So we really try to have a very high competition. And as in sim racing, it's outstanding to be part of real racing, sim racing. It's kind of the same thing. Having the racecraft from so many thousands of hours in ACC, I love racing, and I can't wait to have the opportunity, thanks to Screen to Speed and INIT and all the people working here, to get me into the car. And let's see it's a Nordschleife. Who don't want to race on the Nordschleife in a race car? Not sure.
So you race Nordschleife, I'm pretty sure, in the Sette Corsa, yeah. Is it your favorite track or not really? Because, for me, Nordschleife, that's the track where I can spend some time, because I was working in a sim racing center as a coach and as a manager of the location. And I remember that I was spending, just to spend some time on Nordschleife, because it's really long and you just can be here for 15 minutes, 20 or something like this. So do 3 laps and then go home. So how is it for you? Do you like this track, or do you not really your favorite? So you got other track as your favorite one?
I would say it is one of the favorites, but not the favorite racetrack. As favorite racetrack, don't ask me why. Personally having Brands Hatch, because I love the techniques there. It's like a small Nordschleife, but as a German, as the most extreme racetrack that you can have somewhere, I would say Nordschleife is the racetrack to practice the most. You're learning so much at the Nordschleife, and it's also so dangerous that, to be honest, I'm a little bit frightened to be there, knowing you're racing a race car. You know the track from the simulator. You know if there's something going to happen, you basically, as everyone says, you just hit escape and go back to pits and start again. In real life, it's something different. But I would say the elevation that you can have on the Nordschleife, everything that you have there is I would say that the best racetrack. But personally, I haven't driven there on the real race or on the real Nordschleife in real life. So well, also not in Brands Hatch, but I don't want to judge which one is the very best. Personally, I love the Nordschleife, but I think, for example, Silverstone or Brands Hatch are tracks that I could also race the whole day. Don't ask me why.
I think that Brands Hatch is one of the best track, to be honest. I'm a big fan of, narrow tracks with elevation changes, like Road Atlanta. I really like this track. Many people on stream joking about this because I really like to race this track, and they're like, "Oh, you again at Road Atlanta? Oh no," something like this. So yeah, I fully understand you with Brands Hatch. I think it's a great track to race, especially with GT3s and in the Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's a really fun track. So that's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So would you say if you could decide on one racetrack, I'm not sure which real life experiences on your side are, but if the experiences that you've maybe made from real car racing, sim racing, the instructor you did on the Nordschleife, which car track combination would you say is something that you would live for? That if you could wish yourself something, what track and car combination would you like to race, and what type of race?
Oh, that will be Porsche Cup and Road Atlanta, 100%. Because I really like Porsche Cup in iRacing. I would love to try it in real life if I ever going to have an opportunity for that. And Road Atlanta for me is like one of the best track on this planet, and I really like it. Speaking about in real life experience, I race Formula cars, so I'm not really into GT cars. So yeah, I think that would be a great experience to have opportunity to race maybe Porsche Cup one day, something like this. Can you tell me, you mentioned that you race in real life some cars. Can you tell me the feelings, how can you compare them to what you feeling in sim racing? Is it really close or not? Because, just many people, that's like top question for everybody, I think. They asking all the time about this.
Yeah, I would say it depends what you're trying to compare. I mean, as we all know, you don't have the G-forces in the simulator. You can have like that ActuRacer Ultimate stuff where you have a 5-axle thing where you really can feel drops and something like that. But pressing you into the seat belts when braking a car like the AMG GT4 or also the Audis, it's something that you don't feel in the simulator. But on my first days, when I got an instructor next to me, racing in that R8 V10, that was a street car basically, with the crashing frame and slicks, for example, on the second one where we had the rear-wheel drive. The person next to me, which was a former DTM driver, asked me after like 3 laps. I mean, we went out to the track and I didn't know the car. I've never driven a car with over 600 horsepower. And I got overwhelmed by the speed that you gain in a very short time, because it's not the monitor, you're really getting pressed into the seat. But after getting to know the car like a few corners, everything spooled in the head like in the simulator, kind of. And the instructor sitting next to me was, after 3 laps, like he just sat there, watched me, and was asking, "And you're really just doing sim racing, do you?" And I was like, "Yeah, why? What am I doing wrong?" And he was like, "Nothing. The thing is, you're braking the car, you're steering into the corner, and then you're holding the steering angle, and you're just turning the car by throttle and brake inputs, and that's driving styles that guys or that people have with karting experience for 15 years or more, and I'm just doing sim racing. But I have also like hours and years of practice, recalculated kind of for real racing. It's just that you feel everything by the steering wheel. I mean, we are used to steering wheels, and I even told the person that I'm not really interested in what the car is giving me through the seat or what the car really is doing behind me or in front of me. I feel like everything in the wheel, because we are trained to feel everything in the steering wheel. And I would say it's, for sure, you can't compare real racing and sim racing. And I would also say it's not good to compare those as the same thing or something that you want to compare. I would say it's completely it's two different sport categories, maybe. It's two different things, but everything that you learn in sim racing, you can somehow compare in real racing, or you can use the race intelligence. You know, if the car, for example, is slipping, if you have a slip angle, or if you're close to a spin, you know instinctively what to do with the wheel. So you have something that you've practiced as a routine over years and hours in sim racing, and you can use that in real racing. At least I would say. I mean, if we look in Formula One, Max Verstappen is also a very good sim racer, and I'm pretty sure that everything that he's practicing in sim racing, he can bring into real racing, and the other way around. So the conclusion I would say is you can't compare both, but everything that you're learning is usable in both situations, if that's kind of answering it.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. So you got really good base skills, which you learn in sim racing, and you can transfer them to real life racing without any issues. I think you just need some time to get used to G-forces, that you like moving in the real car. But you know, articles which I read about sim racers who first time get into the racing track, absolutely the same as you said. So just you know what to do. Actually, you get into the car and you already know how it's working, and that's the main thing. So you don't need like a lot of time to get used to everything, and it's really cool about sim racing, and really nice that for some people that sim racing can be the starting point, like karting was for me, for example. So it's cool because it's more open for everybody as well.
Yeah, I mean, sim racing is affordable. It's I would say that the better, or it's the other way of motorsport. Motorsport is expensive and dangerous, I would say. But if we put all that renewable, sustainable topics on the side, I would say the main thing in sim racing is it's not dangerous, and it's more affordable for nearly everyone, even knowing that sim racing is a very expensive sport compared to, I would say, usual sports or usual esports, where you need the keyboard, a monitor, gaming PC you already have. But in sim racing, I would say you can put in so much money, but still it's way more affordable than a real car, because if you crash your real car once, you have a crashed car. Sim racing, it's a little bit cheaper, I would say.
Yeah, crashes are free. That's the main thing. And definitely you can get into sim racing. So entry level is really low with a budget, of course. And I would like to say that I noticed that races in sim racing, which I'm doing in a racing, I'm usually racing top split, and they more competitive than races which I had in real life. Just because in real life you're really limited, not a lot of people get into the series, and it's not that competitive compared to sim racing. And because we're getting a lot of people, here is just, can be for example Porsche Championship, which I got in a racing, and everybody like 20, 30 people they in 1 second to everybody. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's funny thing. That's something I also recognized 2 weeks ago. I was at the FIA Motorsport Games in Valencia, and I also saw there the sim races and the real races. And personally, or my personal opinion on the real races was I mean, that's very easily said, and I know I don't want to be too provocative around them, but I would say the sim racers had the more interesting races to watch, even if they were looking more like more perfection. They were racing just car by car and no mistakes. In the real races, for sure you had a few guys that were leaning on each other. Even in the GT cars, it's a different type of racing, but it felt more like a kind of a childish racing, as the race intelligence was different compared to the sim racing. I have no idea how it is in the car, and I'm pretty sure I would also drive a lot worse in a real race car than I would do in a simulator. But the races itself to watch, how the guys are racing, how they're leaning on others. I would personally say some stewards in sim racing would even kick you out of track if you are behaving like that, what I've seen on the real races. And I really appreciate every real racer that is doing that. But I also want to say to all people watching, kind of give sim racing a chance and try to step into that perfection of racing that you're seeing there and appreciate what they are actually doing. That was a very big point for me to see that in Valencia.
Yeah, it's a really high level right now in sim racing, as you mentioned. I absolutely agree with you. And just because it's competitive, we got a lot of people. It's also really high level, so no wonder if we would have like the same amount of people racing in real life, we would have the same kind of level and the same competitive races as well. But unfortunately, not everybody got opportunity to get into real life racing because it's just crazy expensive and it's really hard to get sponsors, to get it. Like even if you're getting good results, that's not mean that you're going to get sponsors to sponsor you for your career and you'll get forward into the racing. So yeah, it's a kind of sad thing about racing. But on the other side, we got some racing where we can race and have fun. And also, I really enjoy to watch broadcast sim racing races. They're really fun to watch. Like everybody really close with the gaps and doing the same lines, the same breaking points. It's wonderful. I agree with you in this.
Yeah, absolutely. And still, I also love the real racing topic. And if I could choose between both, or at least I never hope to choose between both because I would love both categories in sports. But as you said, I mean, real motorsport is, in the first point for me, it's dangerous and it can hurt you a lot if something is going wrong. And I really feel that that kind of fear is for sure in sim racing not the main topic, but even then it's more interesting to see that the sim racers are so much on the edge and still racing like hell. I mean, they are also crashing sometimes, but to see that kind of difference in the skills in real racing with fear, and I really have deeply respect for those who can kind of get off that kind of fear in the car and really race like a sim racer would do. And right now we're again comparing real racing and sim racing, but it's two so outstanding types of sports that I still love both, and I could talk about ours somehow.
Yeah, true. I agree with you. So I still remember how I get into karting. I was like 10 or 11 years old, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so afraid of the speed or something. It was so you're just trying to make the step forward. You just trying to get through this fear, and then you getting fast lap times. But on the same side, I can tell you that sometimes I got situations in some racing where I'm feeling like, my god, like, I'm just feeling like it's happening in real life. It's crazy. So your brain thinks like, wow, we're going to crash, or someone going to crash us, something like this. So, and you feel the same fear as in real life. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said in the beginning, in the first story, like when I crashed the car in the Jadia stream, after that I really was frightened about that corner combination. I really was scared to go flat out through Eau Rouge. And I mean, it's sim racing. If I crash again, who cares? It's not hurting me. But the mental issues or the pressure to know that you have a team behind you that have practiced for it, that you don't want to I don't know, you don't want to let them down. You don't want to get the car into repairs for hours. That's something, and I would say a completely different level of fear, because there are a lot of people hoping for you, knowing that also in a real race car, there's a complete team setting up the cars. They're flying there. They have spent a lot of money just to get the car there, and crashing into the wall. It's like wasting so much money. But still, the pressure and the fear and sometimes I'm really scared, even in sim racing. If you're really getting into it, have a triple screen, or even the VR players. In VR, if you're racing or if you're crashing into the wall, I'm pretty sure that makes something with you.
Yeah. I got triple screen, and even with triple screen, sometimes like I really, just into the race. So I just kind of don't feel like I'm sitting in a room or something like this. So I'm really into this racing car, and it can be really really scary sometimes. And I can imagine that people in VR got really good impression with the crashes, with everything which happening in sim racing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I also got triples, and I tried VR a few years ago. I think I had the Oculus, the CV1 back in the days. That's like really now a few years, but I stayed with triples. Because I always have the feeling it still gives me enough. For sure, you don't have that distance checking that you have in VR, that you really can feel like being into the car. But then you also have like expensive wheels. They are flashing, and you have all that information that I wouldn't see if I'm racing in VR. So I think it's type of something that you personally like, the preferences. But I also would like to stay with triples, and so far I'm not planning to go to VR. Maybe also being scared of driving into the wall and getting even more scared.
Yeah, also, as you mentioned, you're doing a lot of endurance races. Yeah, in my opinion, VR is more for the sprint races because, you're going to sweat, and it's not going to be comfortable to race for 4 hours. So personally, I absolutely agree with you that triple, in that circumstances, a lot better. As you can do long stints without any issues, and you don't have to worry that your eyes are going to be tired and you will sweat in the VR headset. But VR give really good, just feelings, emotions. It's really cool. I tried once. There was the Oculus Rift, the first version of it. It was really nice. So my dream is one day to try a better VR headset than iRacing. Maybe because I didn't try VR and iRacing, and I'm just really curious about this.
Yeah, me too. Can't wait. I tested the Apple Vision Pro a few weeks ago, and I mean, technology is awesome. I know it's not a VR headset for racing in our topics, but I would love to see a headset VR racing that's still just letting out exactly our wheels, our hands, so that we really sit into the car. So it's kind of a mix of an AR headset that's allowing to see what you need to see, getting everything else that you don't need rid of, but not that complete throughput that you have on, I think, what is that, Rift 3 or something, or Quest 3. I think a few of them, of the modern ones, have the throughput, but then you see everything around. And I would love to see something that's like, if you're wearing some special suit or something, that is in the simulator. If that's already possible, I'm sorry, I don't know everything, but that would be something I really want to test. That would be cool, I think.
Yeah, kind of mixed reality, I think, will be awesome. Because, as you said, the VR, unfortunately, cutting the opportunity to see your real wheel, which you got, and sometimes you got really expensive, like a Fanatec wheel, or I know, a GSI, something like this, and you really want to see these buttons and everything. And unfortunately, VR cut this opportunity from you. So
I mean, you're paying so much for a wheel with the display, and then you can't see the display. It's like, I don't know, maybe stay with triples.
Oh yeah. So moving forward, can you tell me, how do you feel to be a female sim racer in male sim racing? So how do you feel about this? Is community friendly to you, or you had some toxic moments or something like this?
Basically, I would say I had no toxic moments being female or being male in one big family, I would say. It's like being toxic between racers, because under the Heimat, I would say we all are just racers in every kind of way. I see that we are quite less women in sim racing, but I think it's also cars and car enthusiasts is not that female dominated thing. But I love to see if women are around, how supportive they are to each other, because there are not much and we are supporting each other. We show that we are in sim racing, and for sure it's a male dominated world, but in the end, everyone before the computer, I would say, I don't see, if we wouldn't have our cameras on, I wouldn't see if I'm racing against a male, racing against a female. I'm just racing against a person. And that's what I also love in sim racing, because there is not that, I would say, physical differences like in real racing, that maybe some are stronger, some are weaker. But I would say I love the female empowerment kind of. If you see another girl on the street, even for example, I'm racing or I'm driving a motorbike in real life. If you see another girl biker, you're just waving, you're happy, you just enjoy the moment that you've seen someone like you on a motorbike or in sim racing on the karting track. But what I also see is, if you are in a minority on the racetrack, you also see that the competition between the persons that are racing there or that are in the competition is also a little bit higher or more tense, because there are not much. So you're competing also in a smaller group of people, and then you have a kind of different competition, I would say, even if we have like the big competition, the big race. But so far, I would say pressure is everywhere. You have moments of toxic relations in every kind of sport, in every kind of gender, in every kind of car and team. So I would say that's motorsport. Everything is kind of emotional.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with you. Also had some toxic stuff in the racing races sometimes, and but most of the stuff which happened with me in sim racing, especially I'm talking about that racing because most of the time in this simulator, people really supportive. They really try to help you with some advices. Like they're really really nice, and it's really cool because we can have the same thing like in other esports, yeah. So other esports can be a bit more toxic compared to sim racing. So we've been talking about other communities in the Assetto Corsa Competizione and other simulators also, and everybody like trying to guide you through your journey and to show you how to do sim racing and help you. And you can find team really fast if you want to do endurances. You can find like spotter for ovals if you're doing them. It's nice, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say sim racing, or at least gaming, is a very open world. You can find a home. The thing that is important for me, I would say, is being an open person. It doesn't really depend on what kind of gender you have. For sure, it's important to show which kind of people and characters we have in racing, and I'm very glad that we have so many different types and persons and personalities in racing and or in gaming and racing. And I think it's also important to stand out who we have, but for me, most of the thing is about the character that a person is bringing into the team, into the sport, and I would say support that kind of character. And I would say that's the most important thing, to appreciate the characters and support them.
What do you think? How can we bring more girls into sim racing, into racing as well? So what's your opinion about this?
I would say the girls that want to race in racing, we need to see where we can approach them and get them trained up, kind of. I mean, as I said in the beginning, under the helmet or in front of the monitors, we all are racers. And I would love to see if we found a lot of more of these girls, if we can support them, if we are not just pushing them into the market, if we push them into the market, if with the support that they really can compete with others. And I would say bringing everyone on a very good level, that's something that we really can do, and what we are all trying here to support the females, or to support the women in racing. And I think even if it's a male-dominated world, we have interested girls, and we just need to be there to show them that sim racing is one of the things that you can do if you want. And if you want, what do you need? I mean, is it the mentality that you need? Is it the pace? Is it consistency? Is it bringing you in racing games overall? Is it about the setup? I mean, in the end, a racer is a racer, and we just need to get them like on pace and see to if we can get them competitive with others.
Yeah, I think what you need doing for female, for girls in sim racing, it's really cool because more girls you're going to see, like you just would love to race in sim racing then by the end of the day, because you can see all these girls, they're racing, you're like, oh, I want to be like her, yeah, jump into sim rake and race with whatever person, like if it's guys or girls, it doesn't matter. So I was in the same way as you with my opinion about in real life racing. So when someone asked me about like how do you feel to be a girl, I'm like, I'm just a person behind a helmet, I'm just a driver, and everybody doing the same stuff here. So and we equal because in my opinion, I think that physical thing is not really important, especially if we're talking about sim racing, because you can set up the force feedback in the way you like, and it's great. So I think we got a lot of opportunities now, and I hope we're going to see more girls and more boys also in sim racing.
Absolutely. I mean, sim racing for me is really personal talking. Sim racing is like everything. I really love sim racing. It's my passion, and I'm trying to get my business related topics to sim racing, my private topics to sim racing, or at least racing and overall the automotive industry and stuff. But getting overall speaking more people into racing, I would love to see if whoever is watching this and sees, I want to sim race too now, or maybe I am already sim racing, and maybe I can learn something from the mentalities, from the stories, or anything else. I would love to just bring that to more people. That's what really is driving me.
Mm-hmm. So speaking about the future and plans, what plans do you have in the future in sim racing? Maybe you're thinking to make some kind of content which can bring more people into sim racing as well, and share your opinion with other people. So what's your plan? And I know that you're going to take a part in Global Esport Games. Can you tell me more about this?
Yeah. About the content thing, I thought a lot of, well, I have thought about it several times, but so far I've never got the point, or I've never got so far to say I really want to be a content creator or bring that points in. But you're right. I mean, in the end, to bring people more into sim racing and tell those kind of stories, I should do some kind of content. But so far, I don't know why. It's maybe the online world, or getting the criticism of everyone, maybe the opening to the world to be a content creator. Maybe that's something that I've never accomplished so far, or got into it. Maybe I need a support here. But maybe it's going to start with the Global Esports Games, because in there I will be representing Germany for the female team, together with a friend of mine for the male category. So there are two from Germany going to the Global Esports Games, which actually should have been held now in December 24, which is shifted to early 25 as far as I know. But I will be representing sim racing there, and I don't know what to say. I mean, it's more than just an honor to race there. I even love to see that I made categories for the drivers, or at least the teams. I've so far, unfortunately, no information how the race there will be held. If it's a combined race, if we have 2 classes, for example, or if they are separate. I just know that we are sending 2 representatives. And as far as I know, esports, and I think one of the parts is also motorsport, also from the IOC got Olympic. So there will be most likely also Olympic esport games. And if I can have a chance, if I might have the chance, I hope I can also be there and see what's going to be there. So that will be my goals, to see what we all together can reach in sim racing, maybe just as persona, maybe with different categories, maybe in different cars, maybe in different simulators. We'll see what's going to happen. And I think that the future right now is, well, working, and next to work, a little bit of sim racing, practicing for a 24-hour race on the Nordschleife in a full motion simulator, the Global Esport Games, and for sure in my real life experience, the race on the Nordschleife, or the test day somehow.
So you got great plans. About content creation, I can tell you that sim racing community is so friendly. So they go on to support you. Of course, you can get some toxic people from time to time if you're streaming. But, you know, we can live without these people, unfortunately. But most of the time, I notice that community is just amazing. So if you will have opportunity, if you will have like the wish to make some content and, I don't know, maybe stream a course competition, and one day, I think you just have to jump into it.
Well, I will have a thought about it again. Well, let's see. If I see myself on camera, I'm pretty sure I will cringe out. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do that.
No worries. You know, to be honest, I was really shy when I first time started streaming. I was like, you know, really confused, really close, and also my English wasn't that fluent as right now. So yeah, I think it's okay when you're starting something new. It's absolutely okay to feel shy, to feel unconfident a little bit, but then just like in sim racing, you like gaining time, yeah, and getting better in some corners. You doing the same thing with the rest stuff in your life.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it great to see that like every tip or any hint that we are talking about is related to sim racing, completely transferred to other real life problem? So kind of do sim racing, learn something for life, and even if it's your passion, you will find something that brings you forward, even if it's coming from sim racing or from real life. Some of both can go hand in hand. And I love the experience, the examples that you made up, with being shy or being on the racetrack, the mentality that you need to set up for streaming. Maybe I should think about it again.
Yeah, it's you know, really close. I think I learned a lot of things in sim racing, in streaming also. Met a lot of cool people, nice people who really dedicated about sim racing, about racing, and it's really cool to be a part of this, and it's really nice. So before we end up the stream, I would like to give you the last question. What will be your advice for people who are starting in sim racing? So what can you give from your experience?
Start. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you want to start in sim racing, I think the worst thing that you can do is think about what do I need for sim racing. As we talked about, the start in sim racing or the entry level in sim racing is kind of pretty low. You can start with a keyboard, with a mouse. You can then switch to a gamepad. You can buy a sim rig. You can buy a racing wheel. You can get a direct drive wheel. There is no limit to above, kind of. But if you want to start in sim racing, the first thing that you have to do is like on a real car. You need to start up the car before you can drive a car. So just get started. That's, I would say, that the main advice that I can give for those who want to be part of the sim racing community.
That's great. So thank you so much for taking your time. It was awesome. I had a lot of fun to speaking with you. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Next INIT Talks will be next Thursday. So we'll see you. Thank you so much for watching, and bye.
Bye.